My fault, but I also blame everybody. I can't blame. I'm blaming the dog. I don't know. I'm blaming the dog. Apparently, you can't hit refresh in studio because it kicks you from the studio, and then when you come back, it's gone. So I'm going to ask the team about that because sometimes when you want to make sure, like, you can refresh to make sure that we're up to the most recent comments in the bottom. But all that to say, I'll play an interesting video, which you might be watching on The Unusual Suspects tonight if you tune in at 6 o'clock. While everyone trickles in.
States has multiple patents on how to steer and...
Hey, hold on. I'm going to start this from the beginning. Everyone trickle in. Share the link around. I'm going to go blast it around. This is the new link. Sorry about that. Yeah, I compulsively hit... I forgot not to do it. Don't hit refresh in studio because it kicks you out and then seems to screw you. All right, let me take my face out and enjoy this video because it's I just kicked the thing that I want to. This is what I want to play. I don't want to. I want to turn the mic off, and now you can watch this without seeing my ugly punim in there. Let's go.
All right, my friends, no time to waste here. Did you know that the United States has multiple patents on how to steer and control hurricanes and tornadoes? Yes, this is very real, and it's backed by sources, as well as our own NOAA website, which discusses weather manipulation and what steps you or I would have to take in order to do our own weather manipulation. My friends, this is no joke. Many people believe that weather manipulation was used for Hurricane Helene, then somehow coincidentally stalled over the rare lithium-producing towns of Western and North Carolina, which is the exact location of the largest lithium deposit we have in the United States. Now,
I'll put on pause. I'm not going to play the entire thing. We talk about it on The Unusual Suspects. One of the observations that I made is that no matter where this hurricane would have gone, it would have hit something critical, something important, something port-related on the east coast of Florida, oil-related on the west coast of Florida. So all that to say, though, and I don't want to spoil the surprise for The Unusual Suspects. You got idiots out there like Eric Bang Bang Fang Fang Swalwell making fun of Marjorie Taylor Greene for suggesting that they have things that can control the weather, technologies that can control the weather. And some people say, well, of course you can't. To them, I would say, look up Operation Popeye, people. Oh, that's only cloud seeding, though. That's not. Look up Operation Popeye. Check out this link. Watch The Unusual Suspects at 6 o'clock tonight. And miscusi everybody for being an idiot. Okay, here, now hold on. And people say, oh, Viva called himself an idiot. He's just like Tampon Tim Walls calling himself a knucklehead at times. Yeah. Oh, now okay. So I'm gonna try to circulate the link. Just make sure that we are currently live where we need to be, and we're gonna at least talk about the next subject. Bottom line of Dexter's answer. Bottom line of Dexter's answer was that we're living in a world of insanity in the prison system where they make up stupid rules. I don't know where everybody got cut off. I think it had to do with how people consent and stuff. Actually, let me just go to locals and see where we got cut off because. Here, put that on pause there. Let's just make sure that we're live on CommuTube. I don't have to worry about clicking the sponsorship link now. Okay, so we got this, and it looks like we're currently live on CommuTube, Rumble, vivabarneslaw.locals.com. No, that's the old one. Whatever. We're rolling here. It doesn't matter if we're on YouTube. Where are we? In locals, Finboy6 Slick says, see, Viva not mentioning the Jewish space lasers. We knew he was part of the cabal. I was going to make that joke during The Unusual Suspects. Where did we lose the stream last time with Dexter? Everyone got his address so that we can mail stuff to him. Please tell me you got the address because that'll really upset me, irritate me. Or let me just say, I see in locals, I can hit refresh to make sure that I get all the comments that were down at the bottom. You rock, dude, but you're not as funny as Jimmy Dore, says Mr. Mike. Mr. Mike, just tell me where we lost the stream. We had gotten past the address, correct? We got his address, says JAsh62. Okay, good. It's not that I didn't think our government wouldn't do it, So it's just that I don't think they can make shit into a pile without screwing up. I took a screenshot. Okay, good. Everyone got it. Let me just see what we should be across on 4 platforms now. You can close that window down, close that window, close that window. Can go over here. Let's see if in CommuTube it's there we go. We're live back on CommuTube. Good. See me drinking out of a can here. That's the old stream. Can close that window down. Can close that window down. And we're good. And we're back to it. The good thing, by the way, I can tell you, check this out. Force multiplier, people. While we were streaming, we were at 51,102 the last time. Now we're at 51,502 for the Hurricane Relief Fund. And then Dexter Taylor, who's got his Second Amendment Give, Send, Go fundraiser here. He's at 200. Oh, this is what I wanted to give everybody while we're here. So this is, I think I did share it here. Link. And I'll share that around the house. Okay. Link. Oh, you know what? I lost all of the tips on the last Rumble. Do not give a tipped chat if you had a tipped question that I didn't get to the last time. I'll see if there's a way I can pull them up, but just get them in the chat when we get to it. Let's just do the Tina Peters story, everybody. For goodness sake, we'll do the Tina Peters story. Then we're going to go over to locals for the after party. But actually, just to satisfy my neuroses, I had asked Dexter what people can send him, and he said you can send stuff from Walmart. You can send stuff from Target. You heard that part, right? I'm going to go to locals just so I can get the answer quickly. Locals. We got the part where he said that you can't send from Target, right? Mr. Mike says, how many computer screens do you have? I have one. I know I don't want to. I need things to be simple. I know I have one computer screen. I got 70 tabs open in the back. And I not compulsively, I refresh to make sure that I got the most up-to-date comments, and I shouldn't do that in studio. Mr. Mike, no, it's not. The people have 2 computers, so you can see the screen, you can toggle your stuff, and then I can't figure out how to do that in real time. So, yeah, we heard that part, says Maria 36. Good. So I think where we lost the stream was when he was trying to, did he talk about the fact that you can't have hard-covered books or leather-bound books? Did he get that? Amazon, I think he said, was good as well, Denise N. Okay, so did you get to the part where he said they can't receive hardcover books or leather-bound books? Good. Okay, so then we actually missed nothing, except for the part where he said that they and I said, well, I guess they can't let you have leather-bound books because you could slice it open and stick stuff in between the leather and whatever. And so we didn't miss much. We actually missed like a minute and a half. But if you can't see me sweating, ich bin sweating is what I am. Yeah. And I'm not proud to admit this is a cold brew coffee from a company I don't like, but it was at the gas station, and it was better than the crap. Trump fundraiser is at 5.4 million, says Shellback 0311. That's amazing. He should be doing it on Give, Send, Go. Period. Because Give, Send, Go doesn't even have a minimum percentage for the company, so they rely on people's generosity for the portion to Give, Send, Go to finance their activities. Exactly where it ended, Viva. You are correct. Good, Maria 36. Okay, good. I feel a little better now. But the funny thing is, look, we had an entire new segment. It was Tina Peters. So while everyone trickles in, and sorry about that, it's going to be a big pain in the butt. What I might have to do is change the thumbnail on the old stream so that people don't go to it and say, where the hell's Tina Peters? Viva's a liar. And we're going to talk about Tina Peters now. I had been mildly familiar with the Tina Peters situation because our community is familiar with it. They're always saying, Viva, cover the story. And we've covered it not in any meaningful detail. I wasn't following the trial day in and day out. But we all knew the broad brushstrokes of the trial. Tina Peters was a Colorado clerk who had gotten tipped off to alleged apparent improprieties in the 2020 election. From her own statements and from my interview with David Clements, who's an attorney who was intimately involved in the case, not as counsel for Tina, she gets tipped off to improprieties involving Dominion and then brings it to the attention of psychopath McGee, Jenna Griswold. If anybody has any doubts as to what a psychopath Jenna Griswold is, she's a psycho. I don't judge from a distance in terms of mental wellness because I'm not a psychiatrist, which means that I can judge from a distance in terms of what I think about the mental state of someone. She looks like she's not mentally all there. Jenna Griswold video. Let me just see if I can pull up a quick video of Jenna Griswold from Twitter. It looks like the only ones that are coming up are memes. Jenna Griswold, she appears to be mentally unstable, and she is the Secretary of State of Colorado. So Tina Peters allegedly, raises the awareness of this, and apparently, by many accounts, gets basically a stand-down order from Jenna Griswold, who is rabidly anti-Trump, as you all know, because she was the one basically spearheading the removal of Trump from the ballot in Colorado movement. Okay. Tina Peters then, call it whatever you want, call it belligerence, stubbornness, patriotism, whatever, knowing that she's not going to get the whistleblowers to blow the whistle on themselves, nor is she going to get whistleblower protection when she's blowing the whistle on the regime that is very much anti-Tina Peters and determining any improprieties with the untouchable, uber-religious god of a voting machine system, the Dominion. She wants to go mirror the software and data of the Dominion voting systems before Dominion can do anything that she alleges they in fact did after she mirrored their database, technology, whatever, mirror the system, the operating system. So she gets a guy who turns out to be a confidential informant for the FBI to come in and mirror the Dominion system because it's not something that's very technically easy to do. And you need help doing it. So she gets this guy to help her do it. Guy turns out to be a confidential informant for the FBI. It's amazing. We have another, basically an entrapment case, if you were to get to the merits on that, which they never did, because they never charged her with theft, or they never charged her with like hacking. They never charged her with the Julian Assange type charges. They charged her with, and if I may, I'm going to pull it up. It's a little outdated because it was, they subsequently had a superseding indictment, but they charged her with a bunch of not obscure. I mean, they're incomprehensible charges here. This was when it had another co-defendant that was Belinda Nisley, which, from what I understand, she was subsequently dropped or certainly didn't stand trial. The charges. Some of them might have been dropped, and it might not have been the final version in the superseding indictment, but these are the charges that they went after Tina for. And from what David Clements explained, it was strategic. So they never had to get into the merits of what Tina was alleging was criminal deletion of evidence, of documentation from the system, because what Tina alleges, although it's not been substantiated in any judicial system or official proceeding, is that she alleges that Dominion in fact did delete data from what she had mirrored by way of the confidential informant for the FBI. They charged her with attempt to influence a public servant multiple times. She got convicted on those. Conspiracy to commit criminal impersonation. She got convicted of that. We're gonna play the insane judge statement on that. Attempt to influence a public servant, because she did it more than once with more than one public servant. Criminal impersonation, she was found not guilty of. Conspiracy to commit personal, I think, identity theft. I think she was not convicted on that. I don't remember for sure, but we'll get to it with the judge, and a bunch of other stuff. Violation of duty. Duty. So that's what they charged her with, and she got convicted on 8 of the 11 or 12 charges. Okay. We're going to go play through that judge's diatribe, because it can be described as nothing else other than a diatribe. That judge is the most unhinged psychopath I can imagine. By the way, hold up. The resemblance is uncanny. People, these are not the same people. That is the judge, Matthew Barrett, Judge Matthew Barrett. I mean, that's him. I don't know where that picture's taken from, but even when I saw this guy, I'm like, hold on. That's Jack Smith. Judge Barrett, Jack Smith. I side by side of these. I mean, if you didn't know better, you would say that's the same person. This one looks like he's got a little Vaseline on the filter to make his skin look softer. And this one looks like he's had his soul sucked out of him, such that he is a shell of a human in a spiritual sense, which I actually believe that he is. So the judge, Matthew Barrett, who looks like Jack Smith, and I think there's no coincidences in life. Not the same. Are you sure? Says Jay Ash. No, I'm sure those are not the same. They've definitely got to look, though. Judge Barrett, after they had their oral presentation for, Tina Peters was asking for probation, first-time offender, non-violent, Gold Star mom. Her son, I believe, died in Iraq or Afghanistan. Upstanding citizen by any objective metrics. She was asking for no jail time. I thought they were going to give her a slap on the wrist, like 6 months in jail. And by the time she gets around to her appeal, it'll be like a Steve Bannon, Peter Navarro business. I'm not going to swear. Can I swear? The motherfucker gave her 9 years in jail. She's a 69-year-old woman that is effectively a life sentence by statistical standards. That judge went. It was. I couldn't believe what I was listening to. Was this it? We're going to start through this. We're going to play this whole thing, people. It's 7 minutes. This is not the entire hearing. This is just the diatribe that I decided to share. And thank goodness it went quasi-viral. And even some people who I greatly respect were unfamiliar with the situation. I mean, Mike Cernovich said, "Why haven't I heard of this case?" This segment that I tweeted out yesterday went quasi-viral on Twitter, and thank the good Lord for that, because now a lot of people are going to know of this situation that they didn't before, and now this judge is put on the blast that he deserves. Everybody needs to know who this judge is, and the appellate court needs to know who this judge is, and touch wood, God willing, if this ridiculous conviction is overturned and this ridiculous sentence is overturned, that Judge Matthew Barrett deserves some judicial sanctions for this insane, incomprehensible diatribe. We played a bit of it before, but I say enjoy it in a sick, perverted sense. Listen to this guy. It's out of an Orwell novel. It's out of a Kafka novel. Look at this. This pause I left in there because it's like dramatic pause from a judge who's supposed to be a judge, not an activist on the bench. How many seconds have we been going for that this idiot judge? 7 seconds of a silence and a sigh. You naughty rabbit. Listen to this. I'm sorry. I'm going to let it play. And I'm going to pause periodically to share my thoughts.
You have no qualms with violating the court's orders because you're innocent, because you didn't do anything wrong. You were just doing your job. You have no problem.
That was her defense, that she had a legal obligation in her own mind, which, goes to mens rea. But who the hell needs mens rea in Joe Biden's communist America, in Jenna Griswold's communist Colorado? In her own mind, she was witnessing improprieties, illegalities, and felt the need to document it. Not document it, but rather to advise people of it. And that's why, in her mind, for right or for wrong, but mens rea is something that's required for criminal convictions. That's why she did what she did in her own defense. Obviously, the jury did not retain it, as if they could even possibly understand what what was it? Conspiracy to commit identity theft, I think. Yeah, okay, let's go.
You have no problem trying to kick an officer. Your explanation about what happened is preposterous. It's on video. You have no problem lying to officers. It's happened multiple times. They're recorded conversations.
This is the judge. Do you think this judge, I mean, sure, it's not him that found her guilty. It was a jury. Do you think that jury is more reflective of Tina's peers or the judge's political peers? You're guilty. You were guilty beforehand. You're a charlatan, he says to her.
It's just more lies. No objective person believes them.
No objective person believes your lies that there were improprieties with the 2020 election. It's like he's giving a speech to his master, Obama, or his master, Joe Biden, or his master, the owners of Dominion. You lied. It was fair. You refused to say it was fair. No reasonable person believes you when you say that there were improprieties in the 2020 election. And therefore, this is the judge in an unhinged diatribe prior to sentencing.
No, At the end of the day, you cared about the jets, the podcasts, and the people finding overview. You abdicated your position as a servant to the Constitution, and you chose you over all else. Yes, you are a charlatan, and you cannot help but lie as easy it is for you to breathe.
Do you all know what charlatan means? Like, a lot of people use the term, and not very many people really appreciate what it means. Who knows what charlatan means? Stick it in the chat. A person falsely claiming to have a special knowledge or skill, a fraud. This is coming from a charlatan. Why? Because she was claiming things about the election that really seemed to have pissed this judge off. You're a charlatan. Coming from, do you think that judge came into the trial thinking that she was a charlatan liar who tried to undermine the sanctity of these electronic voting machines? You think the judge had any preconceived notions heading into this trial? Me neither. Hashtag sarcasm.
You betrayed your oath for no one other than you.
I'm curious how she personally benefited from this. This is a lot of confession through projection that I sense coming from the judge. I'll let it roll for a little bit more here.
And this is what makes Miss Peters such a danger to our community. It's the position she held that has provided her the pulpit from which she can preach these lies, the undermining of our democratic process, the undermining of the belief and confidence in our election systems. It's not about questioning it. No one says you can't question, you can't ask. It's completely different. And if you don't understand that distinction, then there's nothing I can say or do here today that will change your mind.
Well, here's one thing. How about you explain the distinction, you scumbag Barrett? How about you you're allowed to question and ask questions, but if you don't understand the difference, well, there's nothing I can do to explain it because I'm incapable of explaining it. This is like a scorned ex-girlfriend on a bench here.
So the damage that is caused and continue to be caused is just as bad, if not worse, than the physical violence that this court sees on an all too regular basis.
Can you put a pin in that? Let's just replay that in case any of you think that you're hallucinating auditorially.
Will change your mind.
What you're doing is just as bad, if not worse, than the physical violence that this court sees. You might as well have raped the nation, Tina. Listen to this.
So the damage that is caused and continue to be caused is just as bad, if not worse, than the physical violence that this court sees on an all too regular basis.
Earmuffs, people. Hey, asshole, why don't you ask a victim of violence if they agree with you, Barrett? Holy hell, is this unbelievable.
And it's particularly damaging when those words come from someone who holds a position of influence like you.
What she did was worse than violence. This man should never sit as a judge again for the rest of his life. It's so unbelievable that it's enraging.
Every effort to undermine the integrity of our elections and public's trust in our institutions has been made by you. You've done it from that lectern the voting public provided you with. Everything you've done has been done to retain control, influence. The damage is immeasurable.
Immeasurable. It's worse than violence. Immeasurable, the damage Tina did by allowing an FBI informant to mirror a database from Dominion. Apparently, there was, I don't know this for a fact, but it was brought up by the community. It may have been uploaded to the internet. And so people, I don't know, had access to private information, although she wasn't charged with that.
And every time it gets refuted, every time it's shown to be false, just another tale is weaved.
This man is possessed.
So I'll begin by saying I've considered all of those purposes of staying of an execution of a sentence. I've mentioned all of them here generally in my comments already, and I find that a stay of any sentence I impose would be wholly unwarranted. All cases have a possibility of reversal on appeal. No doubt.
So he won't even stay his decision so that she can appeal before sentencing her to 9 years in state prison, because he's confident the Court of Appeal is going to agree with him.
I'm at peace with all of the decisions I've made here.
No doubt he is. He's the C.S. Lewis tyrant who tortures other people with the blessing of his own conscience.
If anything, I gave you and your counsel far too much leeway at times, but the rulings I made came after much consideration, incredible amounts of internal debate, and I trust in accordance with the applicable law.
Do you know that Barnes talks about this all the time, and people think that I'm not objective, that I'm biased, because I acknowledge that I like J.D. Vance more than Tim Walz. This jackass's inability to appreciate his own bias is precisely what makes him recklessly biased on the bench. I've analyzed my own thoughts and I'm perfectly at peace with them. Yeah, that's because you lack the insight and the introspection that makes you unconscionably biased. When I say I like J.D. Vance more than Tim Walz, I'm going to be more inclined to want to forgive J.D. Vance for things he says during the debate. You check that when you go in to analyze the debate. I'm at peace with. I gave you guys far too much leeway. Not only was I not hard enough on you, I was too easy on you in my own lacking introspect, lacking insight, absolute wild, uncontrolled bias.
I consider the sentence here in this case what are available to me. Probation.
Yep.
Community corrections wasn't requested, but it wouldn't be an option in any event.
Not I wouldn't grant it. It wouldn't be an option. Do you see how these psychopaths dissociate themselves from what they're doing? It wouldn't be an option. I would have denied it. I'm sure he'll say that it wouldn't have been an option for you, lowly pleb.
And an incarcerative sentence to the Department of Corrections. Probation's focus is rehabilitation. That is for folks who have minimal criminal histories.
Like her.
Low LSI scores, like you, Ms. Peters. But where punishment isn't really on the table. It's about putting someone back in the community who's not a risk and giving them a chance to correct those things that brought them before me in the first place.
But you won't do that because you will not kiss the boot and say, I love Big Brother. You won't admit that what you did was wrong in my view. And therefore, if I just give you probation, well, then you've laughed at Big Brother and you have not bent the knee and bent over backwards and licked the boot. So no. And not only am I going to send you to jail, 9 years.
Community corrections, which again isn't available, but nevertheless I'll mention, is another option that I could still order. It's much more stringent than probation, but it's not prison. And it's for folks who have even higher needs. Again, drug addicts, alcohol abusers, and the like.
You're worse than that.
And prison is for those folks where we send people who are a danger to all of us.
A danger. She's a danger. She's worse than violence.
Whether it be by the pen or the sword or the word of the mouth.
Whether it be by the pen or the sword or the word of the mouth. And he's accusing her of not upholding the Constitution and her oath to the Constitution. Serenity now. I'm just going to play this out.
Prison is where folks go, where punishment is what we're focused on, because the crime committed is so significant that anything less would unduly mitigate the seriousness of the same.
Remember what her alleged crime was. I guess it's no longer alleged now. Remember what her conviction was for. Attempt to influence a public servant. So violent and so heinous, incarceration for a decade is required. This man, this is what the human incarnation of evil looks like. The banality of evil. Stealing someone's life. He may as well steal her physical life. Oh, but she was involved in elections and she do it. Okay, I'll shut my big mouth.
Mentioned before, there are no mental health concerns. There's no good reason why you're here, Ms. Peters, other than these are all the active decisions that you made that cost our county significantly, but also more importantly, cost you greatly. Mr. Wood, all the members of the county who worked and trusted you when you asked them to do things that they did on your behalf. It's part of your lies. The expense, the toll is immeasurable.
Immeasurable. It cannot be measured what she did. She is literally immeasurably evil.
So putting you on probation when you have zero needs that would be met by probation is the very definition of unduly depreciating the significance of what it is that you've done here.
And put on pause here, by the way. Appreciate also what he's saying. She has no needs that would warrant probation, which he mentioned earlier. You're not a drug addict. So if you were a drug addict, well, then we wouldn't want to lock you up, because then, you could be better served by probation. So you're locking up a woman who had no guilty intent, but who did what she did willingly in full awareness, at least of fact. But the drug addicts, they'd get out. The alcoholics, they'd get out. The people who are mentally ill, they would get out. You'd put them back on the street in a heartbeat, because after all, it's only violence, right, Judge Barrett? What she did was worse than violence. You got to lock her up.
The harm that you've caused our community and continue to cause.
How does she continue to cause it? By asserting her innocence?
Corrections is the same. So prison is the only place that duly meets the purposes of sentencing in this matter. And therefore, the sentence and judgment of the court is as follows.
Listen to this.
As to counts 1 and 4, the judgment and sentence of the court is 3.5 years in the Department of Corrections. Those sentences will be concurrent to each other. As to count 2, the judgment and sentence of the court is 3.5 years consecutive to counts 1 and 4.
Consecutive, by the way. Understand the difference between concurrent and consecutive at the same time versus one after the other. 3.5 years, 1 and 4.
Concurrent to each other. As to count 2, the judgment and sentence of the court is 3.5 years consecutive to counts 1 and 4. As it relates to the misdemeanor charges, count 8 is 120 days in the Mesa County Detention Facility, concurrent to count 9 and 10, which will be 6 months in the Mesa County Detention Facility, consecutive to the prison sentence. The reason those sentences are consecutive is because those sentences are, as the prosecution stated, directly related to what it is that you did here in our community, the damage you caused this community, the breach of your oath to the electorate in Mesa County.
Understand this, by the way. From what it sounds like here, the judge had the discretion to order the sentences to be served either concurrently at the same time. So you get 3.5 year sentences, and you serve them, well, I guess 3 year sentences, and you serve them at the same time. So it's 3 years because you've doubled them up, or you stretched one out after the other. Consecutive, concurrent versus consecutive. And it sounds like he has the discretion here, which he has abused to run these convictions for what I believe are the same attempt to influence a public official consecutively, 3+ years each. And he forgets about a 15-month, which he adds, just throws it in there at the end, consecutive.
Your sentence will be followed by 3 years of parole. You have 2 days of pre-sentence confinement credit. Anything I missed? Anything else we need to address?
Judge, I think you missed a sentencing on count 6.
Oh, I'm sorry. Count 6 is criminal impersonation. That's also consecutive. That's also 15 months to the Department
just
of
add another 15 months after the 3.5 years that I've already said go consecutive. Just like that. Just like, so it's just someone's life. Just add that another 15 months consecutive. I mean, this is out of a horror movie. This is out of a horror movie where we are watching evil in the form of a human take away someone's life if they get away with it at the end of the day.
So it's 8.5 years total, plus the 6 months for a total of 9 years of incarceration.
Now it's 3.5, 7 plus the 15 months. That's now 8.5 plus 6 months, 9 months, 9 years. Sorry, 9 years. 9 years incarceration. I mean, if that's not the most inhumane injustice imaginable, there's no justice and there's no humanity anymore. And then they talk about the cost of the prosecution afterwards. So this, as far as I'm concerned, needs to be put on the absolute utmost of blasts imaginable. I hopefully as a force multiplier, hopefully I've had a hand in making that happen. And then let's just even assume that Tina Peters is guilty as charged. Attempt to influence a public official. Was that what the charge was? Attempt to influence a public servant. My apologies. Conspiracy to commit criminal impersonation. What was the count 8 was identity theft. No, the count 8 was not the one that she got. Either way, assume that she's guilty as charged. She tried to influence a public servant. You know, what would that be worth in a sane universe. A 69-year-old woman with no criminal record, not that the woman makes any difference, a 69-year-old person with no criminal record, Gold Star parent. Assume that she's guilty of an attempt to influence a public. What? I was thinking the judge would give her 6 months, maybe. Can you understand that? 9 years because the judge, in addition to being wildly evil and sentencing her to 3.5 years per conviction, ran it consecutively, threw on a little 15 months at the end consecutively. Even if she were guilty of everything that she was charged with, non-violent, there were no consequences to it by any means because Colorado went to Biden. And they want to take away a woman's life over this. I mean, it's the absurdity of like the episode of The Simpsons when Bart's getting detention, and then Skinner's like, "Hey, keep mouthing off. I'll give you another month." And he's like, "All right, go ahead. 2 months. All right, well, give him more. 3 months. Maybe I should just shut my big mouth." I mean, this was like it's so insanely unjustifiable. There's no other way around it. And everyone's like, "Well, people, FAFO, fuck around, find out." The same jackasses who are all for criminal justice reform. You know, the system is racist. We can't lock up the members of the black community for these offenses because it ruins a generation of men. You might be right. So that means you didn't go lock up a granny for the rest of her life because she said something about the election that you didn't like. Oh, because she tried to influence a public servant, even if she did do that. Hold on, I got to bring up a mother effer of all mother efforts, and I'm trying not to swear, but it really makes it very difficult. If all that I've got left is my voice. Who was it? It's a scumbag that we've seen multiple times. Yes. Here's one. Lawrence Tribe. It's ironic that it's going to be Lawrence Tribe, who's the most tribalist of corrupt goons, who has the balls to call himself a law professor. Lawrence Tribe. May this 9-year prison sentence for Tina Peters deter others, quote, stop the steal, end quote, conspiracists from messing with their country's voting system in this election cycle. Oh, thank you for saying the quiet part out loud. You got a effing Ukrainian flag in your profile, Lawrence. This is the same jackass who was promoting the 14th Amendment disqualification from the ballot theory, where he got his stupid law professor jackass smacked by the Supreme Court 9-0. Harvard, although I think he's on whatever they call it. This moron, this petty tyrant, this fascist, ironically flying the Ukrainian flag in his bio, may this 9-year prison sentence for Tina Peters deter others. Stop the steal. Yeah, thank you for telling us exactly what this sentence is about. Nothing to do with justice, all about shutting up political dissidents. But because the internet is forever and Viva has a memory and a half-functioning brain, I just pulled up a tweet from him. What was this from? Oh, yeah. July, April, May, June, July, August, September, October. 4 months ago, Lawrence Tribe is warning Donald Trump, who openly vows to throw his political enemies in jail with zero legal basis if reelected for president. Oh, but you can't elect President Trump. He's going to throw his political rivals in jail. May this 9-year sentence shut you up, mama. Woman, what did you learn? I hope you learned something, is what Lawrence Tribe is thinking. Oh, no, but he said with no legal basis, with zero legal. Well, they got the legal basis, right? Because now they got a conviction, so it's legal. It's not illegal when the government does it, and it's not illegal when they do it because they get the legal basis to do it because they go and get a conviction from court. But when Trump does it, it'll be without legal basis, even if he does get a court to agree with him. So that's it. Tina Peters is going to appeal. And meanwhile, she's going to go rot in jail for a little bit because the judge didn't want to suspend his sentence pending an appeal because he's at peace with his decisions. And he's confident that the Court of Appeal will agree with him. And if they don't, well, it's just one more decision overturned by the Court of Appeal. It's not like he just stole any of his own life. Okay, now apologies for having missed everything. That's the Tina Peters story. You all know, put it on blast. Boops, he says, Dexter should write a book or articles and be on more podcasts. He had a radio show, didn't he? Yes, he did. It was called Carbon Mike Radio, or Future Carbon Mike. Carbon Mike was his name. He's got a great voice. He's a very, very smart man. And I even appreciated his answer on, the slave labor. It was the same answer, a similar answer to what I got from Asim Malhotra, I think, when I talked about VAIDS for the vaccine-induced autoimmune deficiency. And he's like, I don't like that term. It's got a lot of baggage. I appreciate where Dexter's coming from on that, but I think taking someone's liberty, locking them up, and then not forcing them to work because they have the option, but using their work and paying them at most $1 an hour so that they can then commercialize those goods, I would qualify that as slave labor, or at least slave wage labor. From our locals community, we got Barb S222. Can people in prison set up an Amazon storefront so we know what they want? I'll ask him. But I would just, not take any chances and get stuff that's like, I don't know, that you can't go wrong with. Like maybe one of these things. I mean, he's in jail. I don't even know. I don't think they'd be able to get away with this because it's got ropes in it. But check this out. It's a bar game. You see, you hold it and you go like this. Hold on, that was a terrible. It's the hook. Nobody's going anywhere until I do this. Okay, there we go. Or other games for the obsessive compulsive. You got this one. This one, you got a little ball, you see, and you put it on flat ground and you got to like roll it up to the top. Anyhow, there's a lot of games for people with OCD who like muscle memory games. Okay. What do we got here? Denise Ann 2 in the house, who says, David, CanCon followed the Tina Peter case very closely and live streamed the entire court hearing. He was at the symposium Tina was at when her office was raided. He's a wealth of info on this case. No, I'll have him back on, Denise Ann. But I had on David Clements on Monday, and he gave us the lowdown as well. But I'll have CanCon back on because we have to talk about this. And you got to put it on as much blast as humanly possible. A petition should be filed to have that judge removed from the bench. Sanctioned. Ethics file. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, that sentence is an ethical violation of anyone who calls themselves a judge. The Godfather says, did my 100 coin tipped comment from the other stream get seen, Viva? I do not think it did. The Godfather. And so don't do it again, but do it in the regular chat, and I'm going to pull it up in a second. David, I saw your video about where to send help for the hurricane victims in North Carolina. If you could get Nick Sortor on to explain what he's seeing, it would bring great awareness. Samaritan's Purse and Mercury One are other places to donate to. Amazing. I'll DM Sordo. I have his info. Jay Ash, thank you. And I've also been in touch with someone who's on the ground, or at least one step removed from someone who's on the ground. And when I can share the information, I will share it. But it looks like some of the rumors seem to be true. Everything this judge is accused Tina of, he is guilty of himself, Tina. Add Denise Antu. Absolutely. It's the iron law of woke projection. If anyone needed any more proof that this is no longer a government, it is a regime, and you better not cross it, says Finboy Slick. And then we got Dan Sundun, who says, 3 isolated independent teams of investigations came up with the same results of fraud and corrupt results for 2 separate elections. It's like, but it doesn't matter. Even if it wasn't, it's just absolute inhumanity what they just did to Tina Peters, even if you think she's guilty. You can think she's guilty all day long. It's inhumane. John S. over on CommiTube says, I forget the exact quote and source, but there's an adage that only a true believer is more cruel than a petty tyrant because they believe they are doing it for your own good. John S., one step ahead of you here. Let's do this. C.S. Lewis, Tyrant. It's a great quote. Of all the tyrannies, a tyranny sincerely exercised for the good of its victims may be the most oppressive. It would be better to live under robber barons than under omnipotent moral busybodies. The robber baron's cruelty may sometimes sleep. His cupidity. Oh, get the heck out of here. Well, I can't get that one. That sucks. Let's go down over here. Oh, come on. This is going to be an essay. Hey, essay. Go back here. I don't want that one. Quote by C.S. Lewis, Goodreads. Okay, this one is here. The robber baron's cruelty may sometimes sleep. His cupidity may at some point be satiated. But those who torment us for our own good will torment us without end, for they do so with the approval of their own conscience. C.S. Lewis. Okay, that was the $10 from, who did that come from over there? John S. Let me scroll up here. And there's another one up here. John S. says, to be fair, Chris Chappelle in China, uncensored, resembles Jack. Not a real prosecutor. Pinocchio, than that judge does. Okay. And hold on, there were other. I can't get over that judge. For the life of me, I can't get over that judge. Let me close this up here. Close this. Close this. Close this. There was another super chat from the last one, which was from Kyle Beckman, $20. It said, as a descendant of founding father George Reed, who drafted and ratified the Constitution and Bill of Rights, including the Second Amendment, it deeply saddens me to see our tyrannical government imprison Dexter Taylor. Thank you very much for that. Did I screen grab one here from our team? It said The Godfather. Hey, Viva. It's been a long. Oh, here we go. The Godfather. I see it right now. I got it. I got it. Let me bring it up. I forgot that I screen grabbed it. The neuroses occasionally has some benefits. Here. Booyah. Hey, Viva. It's been a long time since I've caught you live. I've reached out to Barnes a few times, but have yet to hear back from you on this. If it's not too much to ask, can you help me out? I have a sponsorship idea I think you and Robert will like. I just need a few minutes and the way to run it by you. My email. Dude, well, I guess you showed it to the whole world, so. All right, well, thank you. I got that, and I've screen grabbed it, and I will email you shortly. Stop sharing. Okay, what we're going to do now, people are going to go to the locals after party, and then I'm going to, geez, we've been going for a long time, but that's my fault. Come on over to vivabarneslaw.locals.com if you are so inclined. If you're not, don't worry about it. I will see you no later than Sunday. Link here. And sorry about the glitch earlier. My fault, but also not my fault, but I take responsibility for everything because that's what has to happen. And that is it. Let me see if I didn't miss anything that came in the meantime. Dan Smith. No, we got that one too. Okay. We're going to end it. And we're going to have we're going to have our party. vivabarneslaw.locals.com. Starting it now. It's going to get